Okay, my friends, this is going to be a hoot. Is there anybody alive, do you think, that doesn't know about the Sphinx? It's in Egypt, the Sphinx. I doubt that there is too many people that don't know. If you said, what about the Sphinx? I think they would understand what you were talking about. Does anybody really understand the Sphinx? And the answer is no. Let's look at what the Sphinx really is and what we can determine from material evidence. Not, oh, they must have been this, they must have been that. No. Let's look at the material evidence. I do chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and then I go to the ancient texts. But I need something to support those ancient texts. And I have found all those things. And I mean right across the board. These ancient texts are not to be dismissed, my friends, and I will show you why. This is a pretty good shot right here. This is where the hole in his head was. It was just a hole there. And if you follow it down, it hits here. Now, this is the nasal cavity right here. This is not the nasal cavity. That, I believe, is a shaft, and I believe this here is where the arrowhead was tied on here. It looks like to me. I don't know. I've had other people say the same thing. They say, yeah, you know, we agree that it certainly looks like that, and it certainly does. Now, the hole comes right down from the top. Now, in the ancient text, it says Hercules shot all of them, or every one of the giants with arrows. That's all I can say. Okay, so he's talking about the academics are studying this stuff, but they really don't study everything. They sort of hide out from certain things. But Egyptology within academic fields, there are
many no-go areas of study. Although hard work and research within permitted areas has taught us a great deal about the previous 4,000 years of the...
What is this, 1993 and 2002? This thing, what does that mean?
...site's inhabitants. Yet regardless of the most astute academic thesis, there remains 3 proverbially large elephants in the room. When it comes to a full or even a mere fraction of an explanation in regards to the origin of these seemingly impossibly huge pyramids remains patiently absent. No accounts, illustrations of any kind from the era exists. It is simply illogical, especially when one considers the sheer feat these structures must have been. We have presented many previous features, polygonal masonry being present on the pyramid.
You see these? You see the bumps on these? See the bumps? It's the same as they have down in Peru. I know what these bumps are. And these were, I'll tell you later what they are.
Pyramids. Eroded, yet younger casing stones protecting inner megaliths, clearly of a tremendous age. Salt sediment found encrusting the lower chambers, and so on. Suggesting not only that the pyramids are much older than currently claimed, but were pre-flood ruins.
I absolutely 100% I agree with them. They were pre-flood, yes. And that's why they were pretty easily constructed. There was giants here on Earth, and nobody can possibly believe how big they were. To them, this is like Tinker Toys. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. And then they were wiped out in the flood. They were pre-flood giants.
Thus, questions arise. Just how old are the Great Pyramids? In addition to our study of the pyramids, we have also, in the past, asserted that the Sphinx was originally a lion, which, interestingly, correlates to the following hypothesis with fascinating accuracy: the Orion theory. The coincidence with pyramids aligned with Orion's belt and other significant constellational positions. Bauval and Hancock support the theory.
All right, this I don't necessarily know anything about this, so I don't go with that. But this part back here, Pre-flood, yes, they were pre-flood creatures. Pre-flood, they built these pyramids. The earth is literally made of bodies of giant creatures. The Baalbek stones are absolutely gigantically enormous, but with these pre-flood creatures that were the giants that had to be removed from the earth, they were big enough that 2 or 3 of them could have picked one of those stones up, or maybe even one of them. It depends. Enoch said they were 2 miles tall, taller than that. So you take it for what you know, and I don't discount any of those early texts. They removed them from all the mainstream texts, just like they would remove all my stuff, like they removed Velikovsky's stuff, because it was too much for the average human mind to absorb. It was just too spectacular, too much. Oh, it scares the hell out of people, and it does. I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm not saying it's not insane. But if something is what it is what it is. And it is what it is.
Just how old are the Great Pyramids?
This I don't know.
In addition to our study of the pyramids, we have also, in the past, asserted that the Sphinx was originally a lion.
Originally a lion, yes. And they opened up the back end of this thing, and they climbed in there, and it was literally, it was either a vagina or it was a rectum. One or the other. There's no difference, basically, with the look of them. And they went through there, and I could see there's virtually no question. Now, the other thing is, as I have claimed, the arrowhead through the head was the signature of Hercules when they wiped out the giants. Now, Sphinx, I would say, was a giant. It was pretty big. Okay, I'm going to show you something. It's just as what it is. This is the Appollodorus library, which was all of the books written primarily by Hesiod at the direction of the daughters of Zeus. And he glorified the gods and all of the history. So you had the birth of Zeus, the war of the Titans, Olympian gods. These are all the books he wrote. Apollo, Artemis, Demeter, and Persephone, the war of the giants and Typhon, which we're going to look at in a second. Then there was Prometheus, Deucalion. Deucalion was Noah, and the daughters of so-and-so, sons of all these different, Jason and the Argonauts and all that stuff, and on, and then Hercules and the wars of Hercules, and then all of this stuff goes on and on and on and on. All of these books he wrote on the Trojan Wars and all that stuff. Now, listen to this. We're going to go to 1.6.2. All right, so, well, 1.6.1 talks about the earth being vexed on account of the Titans, and he brought forth the giants. And let's just get to the meat of the matter. Everybody's killing everybody. I mean, just nothing but slaughter. And Porphyrion attacked Hercules and Hera, and Zeus inspired him with lust for Hera, and he tore her robes, and he would have forced her to have sex. Zeus smote him with a thunderbolt. Hercules shot him dead with an arrow. Hercules shot every one of them dead with arrows. That's why I say he shot the Sphinx. Now listen to this. They're talking about everybody's killing everybody, and at the very end it says, the other giants, Zeus, who was the god, smote. He killed them all and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. All of the giants Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. And then Earth had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, which is the dragon in the desert. And it explains him exactly correct. This red flared eye, his head off and brushed the stars. It's exactly what he was, and he is there. Whoops, never mind. I'm not going to bother showing. I've shown 100,000, literally hundreds of times, and he is in the desert. And he was on the maps of some of these ancient things, and the stories here are just stunning. But I'm going to show you, it looks to me like the Sphinx got an arrow right through his head. You see that? It's on both sides of the neck. The red and the blue, that's the vein and the artery. And they go straight up both sides of the neck. Okay, my friends, extreme shocker du jour. I'm going to be going over the Sphinx. And I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. And look up what the biggest turkey that was ever grown was. And I think I can show you one. It was likely a bit larger and had feathers this thick. So things are not what we thought they were. So let's talk about the Sphinx. And what am I claiming? I'm claiming he got shot through the head with an arrow. And it came right through there, and there's the arrow tip right there. And who would shoot our friend the Sphinx through the head with an arrow? Well, the ancient texts say it was Hercules. So let's look at the ancient text. Let's look at the arrow that came through his head and where the shaft came down, and why nobody's ever seen this, and why nobody understands that the Sphinx is literally was a living head from a giant, and they put this on top of some giant lion's body. And I'm going to tell you right now, that body is actually some kind of biology. I don't know exactly what, but they covered it over with brick. They entered the anal cavity. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. And it's right here. There's the anal cavity they entered. It was right at the butt. You see here? They call this the shaft D, the rump shaft. And they went right in there, and it says shaft D, covered here, allows access to the upward curve of the rump. It goes in up into his guts. Well, what does it look like when they enter that hole? Which is it's a butthole. And here's what it looked like standing here. I mean, that's what it is. Natural or unnatural? I'd say that's natural. And when the guy pooped, that's okay. Either that, or it could be a vagina. I don't know. But it's definitely some kind of an anatomical cavity that enters in here and has both of those features possible. It could be an anal cavity, or it could be a vaginal cavity. But it's coming right through the butt of the Sphinx. Now, I'm going to show you a couple other shots that just show that the Sphinx head is different than the body. So this I don't know anything about, but the head, I'm pretty sure got shot through the head with an arrow, because that's what it says in the ancient text. Hercules killed all the giants. It says all the giants he shot with arrows. Now, Sphinx's head is a pretty good-sized giant. This is before they did anything to this thing. Now, you can obviously see that the head is a completely different color, basically, than the body. Now, I don't know what that's all about. I believe they put this head on here, and when we look carefully, you can see where they just plastered it in, basically. But I can also see the anatomy that shows, there's almost no question whatsoever, this head was alive at one time. It came from something, I don't know what, how they moved it over here, but they had giants. So this looks like it was put there as an honorary piece, after the end of the giant era, because Hercules killed all the giants. This is what the text wrote. And then Gaia, who is Mother Earth, who the giants were her children, basically. And she had sex with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, who is the dragon in the desert. And he attacked the gods. And he got Ares, which was the fish, in the desert. And then they both are laying there dead, I don't know. Now, this, I'm going to show you the anatomical details. It literally proves that head was at one time a living creature's head. And if you can argue with that, you get your doctor, you get your anatomist, you get your biologist, let's talk. Okay, get your anatomist. You got your blue and your red blood. The blue is your vein blood. The red is your arterial blood. It has all that good oxygen. And both sides, it has the same thing coming straight up your neck. Speaking of necks, wait till you see this picture. Somebody sent me this a long time ago. Oh, look at this. You ever seen anything like that? That is freaky. And this was long before there was AI. I don't know, 10 years ago or more. And I'm not sure where this is, but they do this. They put these rings in when they're little babies, and the neck conforms to these rings. Look at that. Anyway, the world is so fascinating when you really pay attention to things. So what are we looking at? Blood and blood on both sides. Well, can I see that? Well, yes, I can. There it is right there. That blood is blowing out. And at one point, it actually leaked out, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, so let's just look at this. Right now, there's probably birds nesting in here and pooping and so forth. But at one time, this the vein and the artery right here, they come right up. This is where they are. I just showed you that. Where did I show it to you? Maybe I didn't. Yes, I did. There's a vein in the artery. They come both on both sides, not just one. All right, so we saw the one here. That's on the right side of the guy's head. All right, now I believe this is one and that's the other. All right, now let's go to the other side of his head. That's the side, that's the side, that's the side. I had one here somewhere. Here it is, right here. So this is the one side. Now we're going to the other side. Guess what? Same thing right there. Same thing. It's leaking blood out of there. And you can see how it's plastered in at the neckline here. This is they plastered this in to the body of, it looks to me like it was actually a living creature at one time. When you go through that anal canal, I mean, you know, what can I say? And then I see some other spots that if it was me, I'd like to investigate. They're on the side, there's some spots that look like blood. Now, there's some blocky looking stuff here that I cannot explain at all. But this right here could be blood, which would be an area where there'd be a lot of blood coming down from, like I believe almost all of this was actual creature. The butt is real. That I can tell you right now. And they can test this stuff. There is no way in the world they can say they cannot test this. This is like, I mean, it's hard to dismiss this just out of hand and say, oh, no, it's just a hole in there. No, it's not. That is anatomical, and it is natural, but it is also unnatural in our minds. Where I would go and test is like this, and the red areas, and the black areas, and wherever you see a tube going in there, you're going to have some blood or something. It's going to be some bodily fluids are going through there. Look at this little circle here. There's all kinds of things that they could test. This could be the vein, and this could be artery. I don't know. But I can see red, bloody spots all over the place. And there's no way they can not be able to tell what's going on here. If you went in here and cleaned it off really good, you should be able to see the anatomy of whatever that cavity was from. Whether it's an anal cavity, vaginal cavity, whatever. The anatomy is there. There's absolutely no question about that. All right, we know they did a lot of work to this. This is early in the phase of restoration. Now, I'm going to show you up close, but you can see the actual arrow tip coming through here. That is not his nose, in my opinion, and I'll show you why in other shots that I can make that statement. Now you see it coming down here? I'm veering off to this side. That's not his nose, and you can actually see the actual shaft. And there's a hole coming right down from the top. Right down from the top of his head, there's a hole And I believe the arrow tip is sticking right there. This is a pretty good shot right here. This is where the hole in his head was. It was just a hole there. And if you follow it down, it hits here. Now, this is the nasal cavity right here. This is not the nasal cavity. That, I believe, is a shaft, and I believe this in here is where the arrowhead was tied on here. It looks like to me. I don't know. I've had other people say the same thing. They say, yeah, you know, we agree that it certainly looks like that, and it certainly does. Now, the hole comes right down from the top. Now, in the ancient text, it says Hercules shot all of them, every one of the giants with arrows. That's all I can say. All right, you got to really pay a close attention to what you see. Those two spots, I say, are the vein and the artery, and they're just directly below the ear. Well, in the anatomical, that's exactly where they are. The ear is right up in here, and they're right down exactly below the ear. And the rest, all the anatomical part is there. The nose cavity is here, but the arrow comes to this side and branches off. You can actually see the hole for the nose cavity. You see here? That's right in the center of his forehead. That's where the cavity should be. And it just should be down here, though, and coming down to where his nose would be at the bottom. Well, the arrowhead is stuck in the middle of his nose. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know about you. And this stuff here is blood really dripping down, I believe, is a. Let's take another shot, looking at another place. I believe there's actually been body fluids that collected here and solidified at one time, whether they left him here or it just over the course of draining through that hole, it collected down here. But one way or the other, there's a collection of what looks like to me body fluids. Okay, so let's take this one step at a time. You got the arrow coming down through here, and it ends up down here. And the shaft is right there. This cavity should have been a little bit wider, but it's definitely a cavity that was his nose. In my mind, I don't see any other possibility there. Now, you see this? That's not, I don't think that's just his lip. Something either ran down this way or ran down that way. I think there's an extra stuff here, which has pushed his nose a little bit out of the way, or this is an accumulation of something. It looks like it to me, coming right out of this area. Now, why would it come out of there? A couple reasons. Things would be draining out of his nose and coming down here trying to find the easiest way out, because there's a hole through his head. There's a hole down through his head. Water's going to collect in there. It rains there sometimes. All right, this is when they were just in the early excavation phases. Hole on top of the head of the Sphinx. And this guy's standing in it. That's the size of an arrow shaft. And they capped it off. But it was open when they got there, I believe. I mean, nobody had a cap on it. Now they do. But at some point, it would have been leaking water through there. Now the cap is on here, see? But that's, I don't see how that can be dismissed easily. I mean, what is this? Why is this here? Why is that there? The only thing I can think of is an arrow shaft, and this looks like it's tied with something there, and there's the tip of the arrow. And this stuff here is running off, either dripping down here and running off this way or whatever. It's blood running down. You see how red this stuff is? It's very red because that's the color of blood. Now, again, this was early in the excavation days. And then they capped that off. And these separation lines here, I understand those now. For a long time, that's always bothered me because I find them in a lot of things. And I wonder, why would it do that? Why would be these cracks happen? Well, I do understand it now. And it's the settling of the blood. The red blood and the vein blood. You got red and blue or black in mud fossils, black. But they're two different oxygenation states, and they oppose each other. And they puddle. You get a puddle of red, and it pushes the black up. So you get a crack. You get a crack because of its blood. And then because that one opposes the next one, you get another crack. So then it's like dipoles. You got a positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, and just crack, 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 crack. And that's why I show this. Well, here I might as well do it again. Hold on. This is what we're looking at right there. Is this kind of layering. This, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was some kind of an organ. And it has the same thing. The puddles of blood would separate. You see how this is this is black. I don't know. It sometimes looks shiny. You can't see that it's black. But this is the black blood, and that's the vein blood, and it pushes the red blood away. So you end up with the red blood on the bottom and the black blood on the top, and creates a crack. Push, push, because the black opens up, and then by the time you're done, you got cracks all over the place, and that's what you got here. That's what causes that. Now, the other thing you can take away here is how much of this head did they really put on here? Because the head is different from the rest of it. Now, when you look at this, like it looks like brickwork under here. And what is this? And there's another one over here. I don't know. And if you look at it really up close, it almost looks like they were slapping clay on here. But the rest of this, as far as I'm concerned, all of this here, that is biological. Obviously with the headdress and so forth. I would think is not. But I got to be honest with you. Nothing is out of the question anymore. I would like to see what this headdress is made out of. But it's obviously, to me, a headdress of some sort. And the rest is basically biology. So we were looking at the arrow coming through his head. And that's what it said. That's what it said in the ancient text. He shot him in the head with arrows, or killed them all with arrows while they were dying. And he was shooting them through their eyes. Now, that's what it says. In one place, he shot him through one eye, and another guy shot him through the left eye, the right eye and the left eye, while one of the giants lay dying. Now, this was that giant turkey feather I showed you. And this is up close, looking at the feather, little, I forget, barbules, they call them, something like that. And here is that feather. This is a turkey feather. As far as I'm concerned, that's a turkey feather. And it's 3 inches thick. So things are not as we have been led to believe. And the things of the past need to be re-examined. Because we just got to think them over again. And here's one thing that, you see this, how the red looking this is? Blood is going to leak from somewhere. And it's going to work its way. Red blood is very fluid, and if it will find a way out somewhere. Is that red blood? I don't know. Or was they just came up and patched this with some red brick? It could be. These are the things I don't know. But like up here, I would tell you right now, I would like to see what is coming out of that hole, because I think that's likely some kind of biology. Now, why these blocks are here, I don't know. But they look biological to me. I'm going to tell you the truth. I know they look you'd say, oh, no, they put these blocks here. Well, maybe they did. Or maybe they didn't. But you could tell if you could get right up and close here and look into these and look at the structure of those little spots, because to me, that's where there's blood coming out. And there could be blood coming out of there. If I know this thing had some biology to it. When you look at the back of that butthole, that's it. That clinched it for me as far as the body goes. Otherwise, it really doesn't look all that biological. Well, it does. If you, like I say, you got to get up and look at where the blood is. That's the only way you can identify these things. You can't identify them any other way than finding the vein and artery. And as far as I've found, everything that I have found has red and black blood. I haven't found anything with any other oddball-looking blood. It's just red and black. The ancient ones, the Titans, they had blood cells that were over 3 feet wide. Blood cells, single cell, 3 feet wide. These were the Titans that really were the giants that were the earth. They were in the earth, but they were the earth because they were in the earth, and that's the earth. And that's exactly what it says. There was giants in the earth in those days. Let's not talk about that anymore. That's just that's too crazy. And then there was more giants after that. It's exactly what it says in Genesis. There was giants in the earth in those days. And then after that, there was more giants. But they were only puppies. They were only a couple miles tall. The first ones were so big that they were, half a dozen of them made up the earth, basically. And every culture, 100% on the face of the planet, had the same story. The earth was made of some kind of biology. 100%. Not a single one didn't have that, and not a single one didn't talk about dragons, not a single one didn't talk about giants, not a single one didn't talk about the great flood, not a single one didn't talk about heaven and hell, not a single one didn't talk about the gods and the, battles in the heavens. Everything, 100%. Now, are all of those people crazy? Just insane people making these stories up? Is there something built into their mind that just pops these things out of their mind? Because most of them, at this point, they didn't even have any interaction with each other. These guys are living over here, he's living over here, never talked to each other. Same story here, same story there. Why? That's my hand screaming. Ah! Why? Tell me why. So you can get violent in this screen. I'm telling you, that's still freaking me out. Whoa. That's got... I don't know, man. This should be spring-loaded. I got to be honest with you. Otherwise, it's going to be too heavy. I would put springs in there to make it automatically come back. Look at this. This is hilarious. The rise of the dinosaurs can be tracked in their fossilized poop. Welcome to Jurassic poop. This is the kind of stuff they're studying. Okay, my friends. My Russian friends, using AI, have been making Mudfossil, songs. And this is called Mudfossil Melody. Now, they put my name in there. I didn't ask them to do that. But the Russians, I'm telling you, they look for scientific evidence. In the United States, I have found none of that. Zero. Anyway, this was their tribute to me, and I thank you, my good friend Andrei, and my other friends in Russia. And please... work this thing out with Ukraine, all right? Here we go. That is a little too excessive for my name, but that's okay. We got to get this thing out there and get it moving. And I just submitted some questions to my friends. And I'm asking them, ooh, that still freaks me out. I'm asking them, what if we all knew these things were true? These things were true. There was a gods, there was dragons, there was giants, there was all of those things they talk about. Planets are, as far as I'm concerned, creatures. Everything in heaven is bodily parts and so forth. All of the things they wrote, and even more, are true. And it leads me to the fact that Jesus Christ came here to say, all that stuff was true. You guys just forgot everything. They misled you. They're taking you down an ivory path here to hell. And, you know, trust me, you watch what they do to me. And you better listen, you better pay attention, because it's all over if you don't. And everybody just dropped it after that. You know, for a while it was a big thing. And it still is, you know, and a lot of people are just totally consumed about it. Some people are just fanatical about it, and they have given up on truth on the other side. I look for the truth. Can I support anything? And yes, I can support it. A huge support on everything. NASA rescues humanity's distant messenger. Mm-hmm. Good for them. Oh, God. Now, wow. What I can say is we need to pay attention to this, because what would you do? What do you think would happen? Let's just put it this way. Let's mull this over as you're eating your turkey. What if everybody knew that there was a heaven and a hell, and if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you're going to end up in hell, and eternity lasts a hell of a lot longer than your time on earth. Now, my time's just about up, and I can feel, I know it's coming. So what do? You better be good. You better not shout. You better not pout. I'm telling you, you better be good, because it ain't going to be Santa Claus, but somebody's going to be coming to town, and you're going to be going with them. So one way or the other, you're going to go to that town or that town. If what they talk about in the ancient text is true, that's the way I'm taking it. And I was heading to the wrong town. My whole life, I was just about me, and now I realize wrong. And that's what my mission is now. And I mean, I've been directed to do this. This is not just something I decided to do one day. This just happened. And I got all these messages. Go look in the woods. I found the giants. I had them DNA tested, CAT scan, all that stuff. A message came up, said these things are for you to see and for others as a test. 5 years, my life was virtually destroyed. Everybody wanted to just stay away from me, which, what are you going to do? And then I just was sitting here depressed. I said, this is crazy. I can't do this. I said, I was literally talking to God. I said, I can't do this. Nobody's going to ever pay attention to me. And I heard a voice that said, look in Morocco. So I think, what the hell is that? It was literally, it said, look in Morocco. And I turned around, and there was nothing about Morocco. So I looked in Morocco, and 2 seconds later, literally within seconds, I found Typhon, the dragon, attacking the fish in Morocco. And I had been working on this. Hold on, this is important. This is something I should tell you about. Okay, my friends, I really should include all this, because in 2012 or so, I woke up one morning, I said, there's something calling my name in the woods. I just felt that way, and I went out and I looked, and, you know, not that day, but within a short time, I kept going back to look, and I found giant human fossils. And I had them DNA tested and CAT scanned and all of that stuff, and they were validated 100%. And I became very bitter because nobody would pay attention, even with all that evidence. So I started studying everything I could study. Because one of the other messages I got, right after I found the mud fossils, the giants, I started searching on giants. And something came up, I don't know where it came from, it said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test, which blew me away. And everybody came down on me like unbelievable. My family, everybody. It was very, very difficult. And they, once they go that way, they don't turn around easily. They just, nobody ever has. I could count them on one hand. The number of people that said, you know, you were right. I mean, just very, very, very rare. Once they turn around and walk away, they almost never come back. No. So what did I do? I started searching everything I could search, and I'm sitting here one day, and I was searching all the ancient texts about this because of the giants and the dragons and all. I found I was finding all kinds of stuff. And the ancient texts were dropping on me like unbelievable, how the rocks would cry out if they told the people not to talk about Jesus. And the rocks are crying out. And how the teachers would be false teachers and they would make up stories just to use the kids. Absolute fact. So I studied everything I could study about the ancient texts, and I started studying the Eye of the Sahara as Atlantis. And I wrote a paper and put it up on academia.edu because they won't let you publish. I have 45 papers up on there. It's about everything because they won't let you publish unless you say exactly what they want you to say. Academia is a crashing system right now, totally echo chamber. They're saying on the news you watch. All the news, not just one or the other, they're all saying the same thing. You're wasting your money, you're putting yourself in debt, you're learning nothing that's real. The core curriculum is just nonsense, absolute nonsense. Learn a trade, learn something that has a substance to it. But anyway, that's another story. So I wrote a paper and I put it up there in 2015 about the Eye of the Sahara being Atlantis, and it drained right across here and created the Cape Verde Islands. A kid playing in the mud can tell you that something drained out of there. I don't know how you can miss that. And what had happened to it when it drained out? As Plato said, they will never speak of mud again. There was so much mud, man. That's where it is. It ended up creating the Cape Verde Islands. It just ran right out here and it piled up in a pile and skirted around this way, skirted around this way. This whole area out here is what they call an alluvial plain, you see? It's just nothing but mud. So now we have Atlantis. To my way of thinking, and I know for sure, I'm absolutely certain that's Atlantis. And this over here is the Straits. So I am really deep into this area, as deep as you can get, understanding what I'm looking at here and relating it to the ancient texts. And I'm good with Atlantis here. This is Atlantis. And this would be their garrison to protect the inlet into the Sahara Ocean. This was the inlet into the Sahara Ocean. It's the Straits. And it collapsed and ran out this side and all washed out here. And then after it had all drained out, it backfilled and flowed back up into here. So there's a mound right here. People say, how do you explain that mound? I said, well, backfilled. Anyway, and I'm sitting here depressed one day. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. And I'm literally saying to God, I'm not going to get this done. You told me that these things are for me to see and others is a test. Nobody will take the test. And they laugh at me. They're just, they're not going to do it. And all of a sudden I hear, look in Morocco. I'm not kidding you. It's just a fact. I don't know why me, but this is what happened. So I heard that and I look around and there's a TV was going behind me about a car commercial. Nothing about Morocco. So I said, well, this is crazy. I'm going to look, because I heard it. I actually heard it. And I thought, boy, that sounded interesting. Look in Morocco. What's that about? So sure enough, I look in Morocco. What do I find? I find Typhon attacking this giant fish. I've been looking at it here for 2 years, 3 years. 3 years. I wrote a paper on it. I wrote the paper on draining of the Sahara. Never saw it. I'm almost into 2016. Still never saw it. I don't talk about anything in here about the drain. I talk about the draining of the Sahara, but I don't talk about the fish or the dragon. I didn't know them. And boom, popped up within seconds. I could see this after getting that message. And sure enough, this is the dragon. Here he is, Typhon. There's his head. And his throat runs all the way down, and all that is runoff from his dead, decaying body. However, this is where his throat was gashed and cut by Zeus with his great and mighty sword. And that's blood, red and black blood. This is what they call effluent. It's body fluids that are just coming out from his dragon-scaled throat. Just running off because it's He's dead, and that's what happens. Fluids pool around the body, and that's just running down. Now, you could go back and look at this all you want. He runs all across North Africa. His head starts here. His tail ends back here. It's 1,200 miles long. This is what it is. You get up here and look. That's a fish. He's attacking the fish. I saw this within 30 seconds of getting that message. Now, and then, things just dropped on me like flies about, the teachers being false teachers, and their destruction does not sleep. And they're literally, now they're just, they won't allow this because it points towards God and creation, not evolution. And it pretty much overthrows basically 100% of what they're saying. So what are you going to do? They're just trying to hide from it, and they're being false teachers. At one point, I thought, well, nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this. They'll pick this up and snap, gone. No, exactly the opposite. They try to destroy me in every possible way they could, and they still are today. So if you don't get this word out, you're never going to get out. But this, to me, this proves God. Or let me put it this way. It proves the ancient text. Now you take it from there however you want. Because every single culture had the same sort of stories about dragons and gods and the giant flood and, heaven and hell and everything. About the earth being made of creatures. And Jesus Christ said the same thing. He said the earth is a corpse. Or, well, hold on. Let me show you what he did say. And then I'm going to leave it at that, because we can go on forever with this. But I think it's important that we understand the reality of our ancient past. And like my hero Velikovsky said, right now, humanity, instead of Homo sapien, it's Homo ignoramus. That's what he said. He said, now we have Homo ignoramus, a new species. The other thing that's funny is Max Planck said, science advances one funeral at a time. The guy's got to die off before somebody can come along to make things right. And then that guy, he's in charge. Whatever he says stands for the next who knows how many years. Like Einstein, he absolutely destroyed science, totally destroyed physics. The speed of light is so variable, it's unbelievable. So now they judge how far the galaxies are pulling light away. It's insanity. Light is just coming slower and slower, 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 slower. And eventually it actually stops and becomes what they call a cosmic microwave background. Well, there's all these little particles in space. Well, they used to be light. They just kept slowing down. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, this is what we got. I can't remember if I showed you this yet, but I'm going to show it again just to be certain. This is talking about Typhon. He was so gigantic, he out-topped everything, out-topped the mountains. His head brushed the stars. His body was winged, unkempt, and hair streamed from his head and cheeks, fire flashed from his eyes. He made for the very heavens with hissings and shouts to go and kill the gods. He was spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth. The gods saw him rushing at heaven. They made for Egypt in flight. Being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance and cut him down with a thunderbolt. Anyway, Ares changed into a fish. And that's the one that Typhon was attacking in the desert, right here, spouting a great jet of fire. And that, I'm telling you, that is some of the nastiest stuff you are ever going to see. And here's his red flared eye and his flashing unkempt hair and his gigantic dragon-scaled throat. You should have Google Earth. If you can't come up here and do it yourself, I'm not going to help you anymore. All right, come up and look at it. You can't miss it. And all of this stuff is just the nastiest, vile stuff coming right out of his beards. This yellow streak down the whole side of his body is the source of this vile nastiness. And you see what it turns into here? You ever seen anything like that? And And then I came down and killed that, well, I don't know if it killed the fish, but it damn sure hurt him. All comes down from his beards. Right from his mouth all the way down here, bam, right onto the fish. And it ate right into his body here. This is all the fin. I think this was a flatfish. I think this is one eye, and that's the other eye. They have a really oddball looking eye. And this whole webbing of fin is the type of fins that flatfish have. It's a big, gigantic fish. That's all I can tell you. And he is trying to kill it. And that's exactly what it says in the ancient text. They turn themselves into animals. There's one there. And he was a dragon attacking him, Typhon. His head almost brushed the stars. All this stuff falls into place. And like I say, Jesus said, the earth is a corpse. And it also said, when you find out about the earth, you're going to find out about the body. And this is the way I'm taking it. Now, I have other people say, oh, you're interpreting it wrong. He meant the people of the world are the corpse. Well, I'm seeing the world itself is made of the corpses of gigantic titan creatures, or whatever they were, or wherever they came from. Everybody's got the same story. They were made from giants, from the frost giants, or from whatever. And Ymir, well, they had all kinds of stories about the earth being constructed, Tiamat, and whether they were right or wrong, I have no idea, but I can tell you what, the earth itself in its entirety is biology, as is everything. Everything. There is nothing I can find in space or on earth that has not come from biology. Where all it came from in the beginning, I don't know. But it's here now, and you can't dismiss this. You cannot just deny something that exists and say it doesn't exist because it shouldn't exist. No. And that's what happened with my DNA tested stuff of giants. 3-foot long fingertip. It still has the fingerprints on it and the fingernail. And the blood came out of there. It's excellent quality DNA. And I still have it. Well, I have parts of it. And all this stuff can be retested. And it was refused because it goes against academia. That is not the way academia is intended to work. It's supposed to be investigators, the researchers of what exists, material, scientific evidence. To turn your back on it is literally, I believe, a crime. Not sure, but I think so. Okay, this is really serious, extremely serious. This changes society in a way that it's enslaves society the way they're doing business in the academia right now. I asked if a university such as Yale was approached with, scientific evidence, material evidence, DNA, CAT scans, specimens, are they obligated to examine that? Yes. Universities, academic institutions generally have an ethical obligation to examine new, credible evidence, especially if it has the potential to significantly alter or challenge existing theories or knowledge in a given field. Yes, like fossilization, like our history. Here are some key points to consider. Commitment to scientific inquiry and evidence. Universities and researchers both are typically committed to the principles of scientific inquiry. Prioritize critical examination of evidence and data. If you can present this, I present only material evidence. It's part of the scientific method, which relies on testing hypotheses and analyzing new data, being willing to revise or abandon theories based on compelling evidence. If the new material is material such as DNA-tested samples, CAT scan images, other scientifically validated, shows clear, testable, reproducible results that challenge existing theories, there's a strong expectation the institution would investigate the evidence. No, there is not. They will challenge that and die on their ground to fight against it. Now listen to this. Academic freedom allows scholars to research. No, it doesn't. and explore a wide range of topics without undue interference. Lies. They will destroy your life if you try to go outside of what they tell you to do. It means that if new evidence presented challenges current understanding, researchers and faculty members have the freedom and responsibility to explore and critically assess that evidence. That is ridiculous. I presented this across the board, and the only thing I got was, you're a crazy person. And I did get one guy said, he agreed, but I said, can I quote you? And he said, no, what do you want to do, ruin my life? Now listen to this. However, it's important to note that academic freedom doesn't guarantee immediate acceptance of new theories. Duh! I'm not excited. I just want them to look at it. It requires rigorous peer review. That means they have to look. Scientific scrutiny before new ideas are widely accepted. Peer review process. All right, what is that? For any new evidence or theory to be widely accepted, scientific academic community typically must undergo peer review. That's what I'm asking for. And I have 45 papers up on academia.edu. Nobody else will let you publish. It means that other experts in the field would evaluate the research, the quality of the evidence, methodology use, and potential impact on existing knowledge. That's what it should be. Refused if you go outside the bounds. Material evidence like DNA and CAT scans, which I have, can indeed be a basis for challenging existing theories, but before the evidence can be overturned, widely accepted views, it would need to be evaluated, tested, corroborated by other experts. Exactly. That's what I'm asking for. Now, what is the institutional responsibilities? Well, there is no formal legal obligation for a university to accept, now listen to this carefully, there's no legal obligation for them to accept new evidence. There is a professional and ethical obligation to consider and examine credible evidence that challenges existing paradigms. This is particularly true if the evidence is significant, is scientifically sound and well supported, which mine is. Universities typically have committees or boards that assess and investigate new findings, especially if they involve significant challenges and widely held theories. This process may involve discussion among faculty, research projects, or even publication in academic journals. All right, this right here is talking about they have research projects and everybody looks at it when you submit stuff and they have discussions and among the faculty. And no, they don't. They just disregard it. And actually at Yale, they used my research and took it, basically. It's exactly what I gave to Derek Briggs was in their paper a year later, which was funded by NASA. This is a problem. Now, here's the challenges to existing theories. Historically, many advances have come about because of new evidence that overturned, redefined existing theories. For example, development of genetics reshaped biology. New fossil discoveries can change our understanding of human evolution and history and eternity. However, for any new theory to replace challenge, one must meet a high bar of scientific rigor, which I'm way over that bar. Evidence alone may not be enough if it cannot be reproduced, verified, explained within the broader context of the field. I have all the evidence. I have chemistry, I have anatomy, I have biology, I have history, I have ancient texts. I have everything to cover every word I've been saying. And the whole world agreed with what I'm talking about. This is every ancient culture had the same stories. Now we got ethical considerations. If the evidence is presented is life-changing or safety-critical nature, such as evidence that challenges medical and environmental theories, universities may have an even stronger ethical obligation to review it promptly. This is the biggest discovery in human history, is mud fossils. It changes our relationship to history. If you see history the same after seeing mud fossils, you got some kind of hard borderline in your brain, because and a lot of people do. This doesn't mean anything to them. No, it doesn't mean anything. Well, it does, because to me it shows that the ancient texts were not just all nonsense, and that likely indicates that Christ came to say, "Watch out, that stuff's real. You're never going to believe what I'm going to tell you, so I'm going to talk in a little kind of funny ways, but trust me." turn your life around and follow what I tell you to do, and you got a chance of getting out of here. But other than that, you're going to go to that way, which is you don't want to go to that end of the town. You want to go to this end. So stick with me, because you can get that way. Go that way and you're in trouble. And that's how I see things. All right, now, there are certain legal obligations. They don't talk about it legally. Like, say, while unions are not legally obligated to immediately adopt new evidence. They don't have to take it. I'm not saying adopt it. They are obligated to review and evaluate. Obligated. What does that mean? That's a legal term. Obligated is a legal term to say you have to do that, or you are liable for something. It says this is credible and material evidence that it challenges existing theories. Mine is so reliable and credible, there's no way they can deny it. It's absolutely zero. This is the cornerstone of scientific inquiry. It's based on the most reliable, tested, and reproducible evidence available. If new evidence is scientifically valid, sufficiently compelling, it could lead to changes in the way certain theories are taught or understood. Yes, and Yale University has stood in the way of this for over 10 years, and I want to see some remedy here. And I have the remedy, which is my university, Mudfossil University, is going to take over basically the university system. But I need money to do that, obviously. And Trump says he's going to sue private universities. This is a place to start. I mean, there's no better place to sue them. And all I really want is $100 million. That's all. Out of at least minimum, I would say floor would be $5 billion. So that leaves $4.9 billion to go back to the taxpayers, because they've known this for 10 years easily. And, and then took credit for it, and then refunded them by using NASA to pay them for their research, which was my research. Unless they can prove that, they say, oh, we did it over in Australia. Well, I'm 15 minutes away from Yale, and I had it all laying out right here, and I still have it here. And I have CAT scans and DNA tests and specimens and blood running out of things. All my microscopic stuff, chemistry. I pioneered the process. In 2015, fascia facilitated fossilization, and that was it was a preservation of exceptional quality preservation due to the silica in the oceans, and actually the oceans boiled the flesh off these creatures, which created the Triassic layer. The red bed is boiled flesh. That came out first, and then the gray clay, which is organs and everything else on top of the red bed, which is the boiled off flesh of these creatures, red fleshy creatures boiled off and made a bed, and then organs and all kind of other things laid on top of that, and then a black cap came on top of that, because that was the fallout from all the burning and so forth, which is the Triassic era. All my stuff's in the Triassic, and they know that. I'm right down the street from Yale. And right down the street from me is Dinosaur State Park, one of the biggest layout of Triassic footprints. And I have a Triassic human footprint here, too. All of this stuff is right here. Refuse to see. I've tried to contact everybody in the state, even the state archaeologists. They won't return my calls. Nobody will. And Derek Briggs, we went back and forth, and I told him, finally, I said, you guys are going to look like idiots by the time this is done, and they will. And even his assistant, Armand, said, well, I guess we won't be the only one. I said, yeah, you're damn sure right there. They all do. Every single one of them was just as bad. Well, Yale was the worst. Yale set the tone for everybody else, because everybody else said, well, you should go to Yale, you're right down the street. I said, well, look at my stuff. They said, well, that's because you're an idiot. Don't you understand that, you idiot? Me. And I talked to a bunch of them, but every one of them had the same story. So there you have it, my friends. Time to change the names to protect the innocent. Okay, my outstanding friends, I know pretty much everybody has heard of Hercules, the super strong hero. Well, there's more to Hercules than you know. He was good buddies with Zeus, and between the two of them, they killed off the giants. Now, here's what happened here. This is the War of the Giants and Typhon. We're going to see things that prove everything I've been talking about right here, boom, just like that. Well, I don't prove it, but they certainly support it. Now, this is the War of the Giants. Appollodorus wrote all this stuff in the 2nd century BC. He was the first, well, not the first, but he was a really solid historian and recorded all the ancient texts to his time. Of course, there was Herodotus and Plato and so forth, but I like Appollodorus because of, I mean, it's serious. It starts with the birth of Zeus, the War of the Titans, the Olympian gods, Apollo, War of the Giants, Titans, Prometheus, Deucalion, who is Noah, the Great Flood. All of those things are here. And all of these books he wrote. Now, I'm going to go 1.6.2. Okay, so let's go, whoops, where are we here? 1.6.2. Come on, let's go. Why isn't this going? I gotta scroll down. Well, that's all right, I can do that. 1.6.2. See, they're fighting and trying to kill everything. They wanted to kill everything there was, and all of the giants. Now, Hercules is working with Zeus, and they're slaughtering all the giants. Now, let's just go to 162 to the very end. And if you read about it, this one killed that one, and that one. And as for the other giants, Euphrates was shot by Apollo with an arrow in his left eye and by Hercules in his right eye. Hephaestus was killed by Dionys with a thrysis, whatever the hell that is, and Cleitus by Hecate with torches, and Mimas, which is the moon, by Hephaestus, which was the god of making iron, with missiles of red-hot metal. It goes on and on, killing everybody. Now, here's the part I want you to listen to very carefully. It says, the Fates, fighting with brazier clubs, killed Argus and Thoas. The other giants, listen to this, the other giants, which all of them, Zeus smote, he killed them. Zeus smote all the other giants and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them, Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. I say the Sphinx is a giant, and it looks to me like it got shot right through the top of the head and the arrow came out its nose. Now listen to this. This is about Typhon. It says, when the gods had overcome the giants, so the gods, Zeus and his crew, and Hercules, they killed all the giants who were the offspring of Earth. Those were her kids. They killed them all. So she got enraged. She says she was still more enraged, had intercourse with Tartarus, and brought forth Typhon, who is that monster in the desert, the giant dragon. It said he was a hybrid between man and beast. Size and strength, he surpassed all the offspring of earth. His thighs, which is the only thing that was human, was of human shape and such prodigious bulk, he out-topped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. And then it goes on and on and on about his winged body was all unkempt and hair streamed from his head, and he had great jets of fire spurting from his mouth. And he was chasing the gods, and they were going to try to hide out from him. They changed their forms into those of animals. And Ares changed into a fish, and that was the one that Typhon spit at. And then his throat was cut by Zeus with his great and mighty sword. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But the key is that Hercules killed every one of them. It says Hercules shot all of them, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. And that was the deal. A god couldn't kill another god unless he had the help of a mortal or a half-mortal. And Hercules was a half mortal, so he had to help Zeus kill the giants. You couldn't kill the giants unless you had a human and a god working together. That's the way I take it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I took it.